live, but it's using the wrong webcam. So that's always awesome. See if we can get this set up here. Camera. All right, so if you're here watching the replay, that's awesome. Stick with it. I think that there were a few really good questions submitted to the Google form, and the link is below. And I think that as more people show up, I think there will be some other fun, good questions to get connected to. And as we're warming up and seeing if anyone will join for the actual live, I think that it's something that I realize is that I don't know what I know, right? And that's what I said in my email. Sometimes I don't know what to say unless I have questions, right? I've been doing art as a business for 10 years now. I got out of the military in 2011, 2022 now. And so just about 10 years. And there's a lot bouncing around in here that I don't know that you want to know. So I miss a lot. Or you miss a lot because I don't get the right questions so that I can give you good answers. And I definitely want to be able to help. That's what I find fulfilling about being an artist and being a teaching artist. And it's something that I carried with me from what I learned in the military to becoming a teacher afterward. And I found that it was something I was missing, and I brought teaching back into my life in 2018 when I started The Art of Selling Art. So I'm here. If you've never met me before, you already know my name is Jason, and this is my office. This is where I do all of my stuff. This art behind me is by Gabriel Collazo, and then this is pretty much how I live my life, with lots of shit to do and always sort of grinding on my art business, which is what I hope you guys are seeking to do or looking to do, because the grind doesn't stop, and success doesn't come without work, and work isn't done well unless you've learned it from someone, or you grind and learn through mistakes. And that's what I did, grinding through mistakes. And now I am helping those who want help, right? Can only help the people who are seeking help and who are doing work. And if you showed up to this, then you are doing the work and looking for help. So what I have is a questionnaire. And the questionnaire is linked below. So you can check that out and submit your own questions in the future if you missed the live. And then next time I come up live, I'll have that list of questions to help and answer with from you. So right now there's only 5 questions, and which is good because I can only be here for about the next hour. And then I go into the one-on-one or the group coaching call for members of the Art of Selling Art. So 5 questions to get through. I am going to do my best, and I might do some screen shares. I actually don't even know if I can share my screen. Let me see if I can. On this tool, Instagram Live, calendar, what have you, edit, customization. Yeah, I don't even know. This is actually my first Twitter live. So a little bit of a learning curve. That's so odd that I can't share my screen. Whatever, I'll figure it out if I can. Now, the first question came from, I think, Drew Miley, or Dewey Miley, right? All right, here's a bunch of oil paintings. How do I successfully make the leap into the NFT world? What are the steps besides digitizing my image? To me, success in the NFT world means having a home where they live, which platform is best, where I have the likelihood of actually being discovered, where they are also easily purchased. Then how do I get aligned buyers to find this page? Okay. How do I successfully make the leap into the NFT world? First, you just have to understand what NFTs are. Now, somewhere in this collection of videos labeled The Art of Selling Art, there is a video on, it's a webinar that I gave for NFT 101 through 201. It's NFT and blockchain 101 through 201. But the gist of it is that blockchain is a ledger of events that is immutable and unfuckwithable, right? So it cannot be tampered or hacked because it lives in so many places that if you there's no single point of access for someone to damage it. That's why blockchain is so important. Art on blockchain is just a asset recorded to the blockchain that points to your art and has a history of where it came from and all the places that it will go. So that creates a tradable digital asset that has connected values from all over the place. So when you go from blockchain to digital asset to NFT, NFT means that you are putting an asset on blockchain that is individual and has a history, and that points to your visual art so that other people can own it and then trade it. So once you really understand all of those things, that's step one. And I tried to breeze right through that really quickly. And I understand if there's more questions, maybe I can do an NFT only AMA at some point. But the gist of it is once you understand that you're basically just selling art online using the blockchain to facilitate those art sales, because the blockchain has a history that can be tracked, and it can get you royalties, and it can allow the collector, the person who owns it, to resell the art. So step one is understanding what those things mean, and then step two is simply creating your accounts and putting your artwork up. Now, I'm about to send an email out, and this will be included in the Art of Selling Art, about sort of a jump starter kit for getting into the NFT world. What it basically says is that the whole world, or this whole universe realm of NFTs, is really built upon community. And I think Web3 in general is also community based or community dependent, and creating customers, finding the people who align, like your question said, how do we find aligned buyers, is by going out and creating that community. What tools do we use? Mostly Twitter. And Twitter is really important and really useful in this case right now, because it allows you to have very meaningful conversations with people. And I think that that is how it differs from Instagram. Now, Facebook used to allow us to have really meaningful conversations too, but the algorithm kind of got in the way, as well as the way Facebook monetizes itself. And it's important that Facebook monetizes itself, right? Because otherwise, how can this thing live, right? How can it continue creating jobs and continue creating a place for us to have a community? But right now, Twitter seems to be the place. So you're going to find aligned buyers by going out onto Twitter, finding people who do work like you, interacting with them, and thereby interacting with the people who like work like you create. So it's a chain of events, and it requires a lot of attention and a lot of go-getting. And it's going to be that way until we can figure out how to successfully reach our audience through paid advertising, which is just you exchanging time for money, right? How much time can I really spend on Twitter talking about my work and talking to people? How can I scale that? And that's going to be through advertising, although I know a lot of artists hate that idea, hate the term, or don't want to put money out. But those are your two options to scale. So which platform is best? There are platforms specific to certain types of art. Mostly it's just platforms for photography and then platforms for everything else. There are some very specific types of art that are created digitally that have digital platforms like Async, which is a platform with multiple interactive layers to your art. blah, blah, blah. But basically, you're going to use one of those platforms. And in general, it doesn't really matter where you put your art. What matters is the community you create and the traffic you can drive to yourself, right? So if you have your work on your own website, like I have a lot of work listed directly through my website with my own contract through Cardano, and I also have work listed on several marketplaces, I have to get the people there. They're not going to just magically pop up. So when I get this question a lot, like where am I going to have the most likelihood of um, being discovered? It's social media linked straight to your sites, right? But you are going to have to drive traffic. It doesn't matter where you go. You're going to have to drive traffic until you get recognized more. And then maybe you can get some front page access to what have you, but it's got to be you doing the work. So that was, I think, all of Dewey's questions. Question number 2. I saw we had one person in here and then they left. This is my first Twitter live, so I don't expect too many people to show up at first, but I want to do this more often, and I think that this is a great platform for being available to people. Question 2. I watched a video where you said that signing up with art storefronts was a bad idea because you should not drive traffic to someone else's website. ASF actually requires you to create your own domain and you build your own website so that it would be your website. How would you then be driving traffic to someone else's website if this is a separate domain from ASF? My point about ASF being not the best place to put your work is because it costs $2,000 or whatever the price is now to create a website on their platform where you could do it yourself for the same amount of work for just a few $100s. And the education / marketing that they say they provide is really topical and doesn't go deep in anything, and it's certainly not worth $2,000. And I don't care what kind of hate I get from this. I have so many members in the Art of Selling Art who spent the money on art storefronts first and then ended up coming to me because it wasn't providing any real actual value. I can go and skim across the top of topics all day and you won't learn anything. You won't have any real actionable tools, and then charge you a stupid amount of money for it, and I guess make out like a bandit. But it's not really necessary. You can easily create your own website with WordPress or Squarespace or any of the other sites. I like those two the best, without spending so much money, guys. And what could $2,000 in advertising do you? What could $2,000 buy you, right? It could buy you a week, a month to take off or to not do your second job so that you can focus on, excuse me, on building those communities and connecting people with your art. Or just working on your copywriting or working on the type of content you need to create in order to be connected and to be personable and to be individual in your business. So that's why I say I don't think our storefronts is worth the money. So question number 3, how the hell do I find collectors that can afford my work? I have some special circumstances to deal with. I am a veteran. I am also a veteran who has a bad back, and so extensive travel is out. I can only drive for maybe 45 minutes. My financial situation is not the best. My wife has cancer and wiped out our savings. I would maybe try to reword that if you're ever going to bring that up to your wife, because she didn't wipe out your savings, but it does cost a lot. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I would just like a suggestion or two. I sold a few pieces online. Okay, so first thing I hear about that is I've sold pieces online. Congratulations. If you can do it once, you can do it 10 times. You can do it 100 times, right? How do you find collectors? So this goes back to the original thing. Like, you got to find the people who are interested in your work. And if we're using Twitter as an example, then refer back to the first few minutes of this conversation. But in general, you have to define your client, right? So if you sold a few pieces of art, who are those people? What do they do? How do they behave? What are their demographics? And why did they buy your art? And you take all those things and you bring them together and you create an avatar. Who is your customer, right? How can you define them? And then you take that avatar and you create an audience. And from that audience, you can market to yourself, right? You can market yourself to them and I'm talking about social media advertising. I'm talking about understanding who your audience is so that you can speak to them the way they want to be spoken to, the way they'll understand the best. And then you put that into your website, you put that into your copy, which is your emails and your website content and your Facebook social media posts and advertisements. And then you push it out. And it takes time. If you don't have the money to spare to do advertising, then you start by grinding your time, right? Advertising is simply money spent to shorten the amount of time doing a certain task, in this case, selling or making offers to the right people. So you can do all of that with social media without paying for it. It just takes the time, right? And putting your own time is not really scalable. But for now, you can do that. You can make that you can do the effort, put in the time, grind out the first sale or two, use the money from those sales not for your pocket, but put it into the advertising. So if you make $1,000, you pay off whatever it costs to make the art and give it to the person, and you take that other 5 or 6 or 700 bucks and you put that into your ad, right? You start advertising with that money and you start scaling yourself up. And for a little bit, you're going to be recycling money in order to get more customers, but that scales, right? If what you're doing worked, you get the sale, you put that into advertising, you scale what worked, and then you bring that money back in until let's say you're spending 2 or 3,000 a month on advertising, and that brings in $10,000 a month in art, and then you repeat. Okay, so that's how you find the collectors that can afford your work. Okay, question number, I guess 5 and 6. So question number 6 is, do I recommend online art venues such as Art Storefronts? Art Storefronts is not an art venue. It's not really a marketplace for you to get discovered. So when I think about venues, I think you're talking about Fine Art America or Saatchi Art or Paint by Numbers or whatever these other sites are where you can list your artwork and get it sold. Do I recommend any of them? Sure, right? But you need to still direct traffic to those places. So why not just direct traffic to your own site, right? If you're going to put the time and effort in, put your time and effort to a place where you can get the customer and hold on to them. Okay. I think something like 30 to 50% of my sales come from prior collectors. And I would never be able to reach out to the people who buy my work on something like Fine Art America. And also Fine Art America, I put work on there for a little bit as a test, and I got no sales because I wasn't driving traffic. I think my work, which has been National Geographic, TEDx, Entrepreneur, ABC News, blah, 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 that work never got any attention on Fine Art America because I wasn't personally directing traffic. Instead, I was directing traffic to my own places, my website, any marketplaces that I was actually on, right? So being on a website, being on a specific marketplace or platform does not guarantee you're going to get actually is not an indicator of whether or not you will be discovered, unless it's specifically very curated and reaches out to their own audiences like an art gallery would. So I don't recommend any of them. I recommend you create a good website, use the principles of website building, which is you can actually get that tutorial from my website. I think it's like $50. And then you build a good website and you direct traffic there. And that's it, right? Attention, traffic, sales. That's the order of events. Okay, so the next and last question here is consistency in posting on social media, etc. is advised, but what do you recommend as subject matter? As myself, my medium and physical challenges impose a certain rarity in output. My process is complex and takes time, and the process videos and shots sufficient for adequate exposure? Yes, I'm glad you got to that last question because that question is your answer. If you have a very delicate, very intricate, very time-extensive process in creating your art, you just have a ton of content that you can that you have a ton of process that you can turn into content to build out your social media presence, right? And like, you could turn, if it takes you a week to create a piece of art, and I'm not talking about 7 calendar days, I'm talking about 40 hours of work, then you can turn that 40 hours of work into dozens of pieces of content, in process images, in process videos, video explanations, um, content shots, like shots of little pieces that you're working on. There's so much you can do to create that story and to create those pieces of content or posts or whatever you want to call them for the internet, and use that to share with everybody who is coming across your media, and give them the opportunity to fall in love with your process. Because when they love the process and they love the story and they love who you are, then they become fans. And when your work is actually finished, then you will have the opportunity um, to present it to people who have fell in love with the process on the way. So I think you answered your own question in your question to me. The process from now, you're just gonna have to do it. So that might mean getting a tripod to hold up your phone, because phones are great cameras now. My phone, my iPhone 12, is cost more money than my first camera did, and I'm filming this with my phone, so it's a good camera. So use your camera, say get a tripod, get a ring light, film what you're doing, and then post that up onto all of the platforms, and just use it to create interesting content. So those are the 5 questions I got. I want to keep doing this more. So in the future, if you have questions, check out the link below. There's a few links below. The first one is to the top 10 tips for getting your next art sale. The next one is to the Art Selling Art. That's what I do. That's where I go in depth and one-on-one with a lot of artists. And the last one is to this questionnaire, where you can put your own questions and we can answer them here live, and hopefully in a discussion with you in the future. Thank you. Keep working on your business. If you watch this for 22 minutes and 15 seconds, then it's because you want to have a business and you want to create an income with your art, whether it's $500 a month, $2,000 a year, or like me, a whole year income. You want to get started, and this is you getting started. So give yourself that little reward, give yourself that pat on the back, and move into the next step. And the next step is taking action. Okay. I will be back. Thank you for watching this, and I will circle around to answer any questions that pop up in the future. Cheers.